Hello, Kindred Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zach here, secretsoflongevity.com. Thank you for watching my videos on my channel. And at number 400, if this is the first one you've seen, I highly recommend going back and watching every single one of them up until now. Well, maybe not every single one. But this one is going to be more of a philosophical video. You can see I'm out here in the wilderness enjoying this very lovely evening. And from many discussions I've been having online with people, as well as some of the things going on in my own life around change and moving forward with things, basic evolution or metaphors for evolution, I've had these ideas ruminating and wanted to apply them in a way that I think highlights some good ideas about how to approach one's own pursuit of health and well-being, and also humanity at large. So it's a very abstract concept that I'll be sharing in this video. I hope you enjoy it. Being active in discussing the topics I share in my video, whether it's countering people's points against me or agreeing with people and just talking about general points and finding out new things, I've really honed a certain aspect of my method of analysis that we could attribute to the left hemisphere of the brain, the logical, analytical brain. It's not quite as simple as that. Different parts of the brain do different things. It's actually also much more of a frontal lobe type brain activity that is responsible for that higher thinking that has given us the ability through evolution to be able to do these things like choosing right from wrong, figuring out how to use tools and make more complex tools, finding patterns, and just having that side of the brain developed that a lot of people in the health community tend to shy away from. They get kind of weirded out by anyone that's too heavy on that side of things. I think in health, more than ever, people need to develop that because there's a lot of fluff that's thrown about without much substance behind it. If we want to get to the bottom of what's optimal for our health and not be stuck into religious type dogmas for diet and health, we need to develop that so that we can continually grow and not get attached to the paradigm, but be attached to the outcome we have in mind and have envisioned for ourselves. How this might apply for humanity at large is, well, what we do see is the increasing of these abilities of logic, reason, science, sort of this academic, very literal, reality-based thinking. And this is all good. But there is the other side of the coin, which in at least the holistic health world is emphasized a lot. But I think there's definitely a place where the approaches to these two ways of thinking or ways of being, which you can have both, cross over and get mixed up. So many of you are aware that the right-hand side of the brain, or the what can be attributed as this more spiritual, more intuitive, more emotional, more creative side of the brain, has obviously its many vast benefits and is very important in the development of our species and giving us the creativity to have gone to the great heights that we have. There's a quote, a teacher of mine, I've seen him talk about. It's not a direct quote, but I'll outline it to the best of my recollection. But it was basically that the jewel of the East is meditation and the jewel of the West is reason. I'd expand that and say basically those things I talked about the right brain encompassing is the jewel of the East. We see the refinement of the abilities and qualities of meditation, more direct insight into ourselves, creativity, the ability to be more intuitive and in tune with the world around us, as opposed to sort of the more harsh factory type industrial mentality that is often attributed to the West. That could be considered the dark side of the over-analytical side of the brain. Then, of course, the jewel of the West, the reason, you have all those other things in there, which is the pattern recognition, the ability to remain astute and observe objectively without having this emotional attachment come into play with one's stance on something. And because you don't have that, then you're free to have your stance shift should the evidence come in that supports otherwise. Now, the reason I talk about this is because I do experience this a lot with people, that this is very absent in at least the holistic health world, when, or even mainstream medical world, when people are trying to argue with me things like, anything about the sunlight causing cancer, etc. Please don't comment on this video about that. I've got a video you can search as, just basically search on YouTube, response to Dear 16-year-old me, fear-mongering video. And that's a video from actually around the spring of last year. And there's just been some discussions on that video recently, which got me all fired up and excited about this topic of change and really honing both sides of these things. I've been honing that one side, but I'm looking forward to times this summer where I'm going to be much more relaxed and able to hone that other side, which I think definitely some people need to hone as well. And there's this idea of balance that is very important, I think, in any type of health pursuit. And that goes without saying that balance is good, but when you understand these two things and their applications, one can bring that in. One doesn't have to be religious or New Age spiritual about the right side of the brain and the qualities associated with that, the jewel of meditation. There's a very practical and reasonable side to it that is very enriching to one's life, however you choose to apply it. And there's so many ways you can apply it. So returning to those ideas of the jewel of the East and the jewel of the West, I think problems occur in people and humanity at large when they start to apply the wrong thing to the wrong types of activities and events in life. So we see people who are very dominant in that creative, intuitive side try to apply that to things that you don't apply it to. So you can almost picture, perhaps you could picture a detective at a crime scene that is trying to do everything on a whim, follow their gut instinct. They might have gut instincts which leads them to inquire with good facts and solid evidence into something, but they're not going to base their conclusions on that. That's a different example and probably doesn't happen all that much, but what I'm talking about is just general people, especially in the world of health, where they have a feeling or they think that just because their heart says so, that they should be doing something, such as choosing a diet that fits this ideal that they've clung to. It might be working for them, but they then use that to try and project onto everyone and say, oh, because you're not following what I'm doing, you're not following your heart. Because my heart says it, so why wouldn't someone else's heart say it? Well, maybe they're just a different person. Or maybe that's not your heart, that's your belief system that you've developed and creating a persona around. Not trying to pass judgment on anyone that follows the heart on anything. But that is not a reason to follow something. That would be something that guides us to look into something and try and match up and get a blend of both the heart or the intuition in line with the analytical and reasonable evidence for something. If we were to go to the other extreme, you have the extreme dogmatic atheists. We all have seen them, where they deny the existence of God. Not that that in and of itself is a bad thing, but they take it so literally that they have no ability to have an open mind about anything that does not immediately give them the logical conclusion that they're looking to have. So someone might have the idea that water is water, no matter where it is, what it's from. It might have different things in it, but water is water, and the science says so. Well, that is a bit simplistic, considering there's a lot of different things that can go on with water. There's changes that happen to it in its different states. It behaves differently at different temperatures. It can pick up and hold on to different things in those different states. So if we were to talk about spring water, we could have someone that is so left brain dominant be cut off from the idea of that, because a carbon filter can do just as good as the earth as its filter, and then you don't have the danger of dangerous bacteria collecting and getting into your water and contaminating it, as a farm might have runoff that could get into the spring somehow. I'm not going to get into that debate here because I've covered that in other videos. I'm sure many of you are well aware of the implications of that type of mentality. So this brings us to the larger question of where are we as humans going in the future? And how can we apply these things and these ideas of the two jewels from the East and the West and bring them into harmony and balance in ourselves so that we can carry that idea forward into future generations? Well, it's simply by living and practicing them. So whatever practices you choose to get into, doing things that encompass those things, and seeing and starting to identify yourself as a living example of that, to project outwards, to inspire others, to teach others, is the way we have to go. Because you see the problems on the planet right now, and in many people today, in society today, the change has to happen, and it starts with the individual. And when you make these changes, it does inspire others. And I've seen it over the course of just a few short years of being on a health-based path, close to a decade. And it's very rewarding to see that change happen in people. It also inspires yourself to continue forward, work on yourself, improve yourself. I don't mean to get stuck into the self-improvement type mentality that in and of itself could be a limitation, but it is a way of being in the world where you're developing yourself. You're not wasting your time with mindless entertainment. You're not wasting your time with mindless and meaningless relationships. There's something scurrying around in the bushes back here. What the heck? I think it's a little vole. Some little black rodent just near the banner. Where is he? Where was I on that last point? The ideas of integrating this in oneself can help with that. That was quite the distraction. But I think that was, if I were to use my intuition, that would kind of indicate to me that that video has reached its conclusion. I've conveyed the message that I was wanting to convey. So take that to heart, and let me know in the comments below what you think about these ideas I presented in the video. Check the links below if you want to go through any links in the drop-down menu to help support me through the affiliate programs in any way, shape, or form. And with that, take care and embrace life without limits.